Hello everyone and welcome to your Advective weather update for March 27th, 2023. Let's jump right into it. We have a severe weather threat that's going to be extending across the United States on Thursday and Friday. We have a level 3 out of 5 overall during this event, but it starts with a level 2 slight risk on Thursday, including Oklahoma City heading towards the western side of the state, including places like Wichita Falls in Texas and Wichita, Kansas as well. So lots of areas here within that severe weather risk as we do head into Thursday, but that's a slight risk, level 2 out of 5, pretty run-of-the-mill for this time of year in this region, and this is going to be because, while there could be some supercells, we don't actually know that we're going to have storms forming within this region, so we don't really know what to expect on Thursday. There's a lot of uncertainty there. The threat is known as conditional. The conditions will be there for severe storms, however, we don't know if the storms will be there to take advantage of those conditions. This is also known as the day before the day as things start to begin to set up, and then we have Friday. Friday's looking serious. It's already an enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5. That's the highest the Storm Prediction Center can go this far out. That's also the highest they'll be able to go tomorrow. However, I suspect that a higher risk than this may be needed by the time we get to the day of. We'll just have to see. There's a lot of uncertainty with this, but there does look to be a widespread severe weather episode possible, and I mean you can see that there with the severe risk stretching all the way from Dallas-Fort Worth up into the Chicago metro, and it's as wide as from Kansas City to near Indianapolis, Columbus, Ohio, places like that. So, I mean, this is a big time risk in terms of both aerial coverage and severe potential. So we'll have to see what happens here. But I'd begin making my severe weather plan now. We'll talk about that here shortly. And I'd also note that given how complex this forecast is and how much uncertainty there is, things are going to change. I actually suspect we're going to get kind of two blocks of severe weather potential, one on the northern end of the risk and one on the southern end. Right now it's one big risk. However, I think they're going to have to split that up here as it becomes more clear where those two confined corridors of severe weather are going to be. All hazards are possible. That's strong winds, large hail, and tornadoes. Let's talk about the setup here. This is what's going on today. So you can see that system moving into the U.S. here right now along the west coast. I don't actually believe that's even going to be our system of concern. You'll notice there our system that's produced some significant severe weather yesterday currently has a slight risk in place for it stretching off the east coast all the way into Alabama there. And again, that's a level 2 out of 5, pretty standard. But you'll notice that other system moving in along the west coast there. That one is going to cause some problems for California, some flooding risks, and then again we'll have that more robust system moving into the central U.S. as time goes on. And again, we're going to be seeing some substantiated severe weather threats out of that as well. All right, well, let's talk about it a bit. This is the severe threat for Thursday, and you can see again there's that level 2 out of 5, and I just want you to kind of pay attention to where this region is. We're going to get some second opinions from weather models here in a second, but this general region, this is where you need to look out on Thursday. So again, that's Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, Wichita, Kansas, stretching through, again, a relatively wide corridor, especially for 4 days out within this region. However, that's nothing compared to 5 days out. We'll be talking about that in more detail soon. Let's look at our second opinions and see what we can get out of them, though. Firstly, we're going to take a look at some analogs here. So this basically says, okay, what are the models looking like, and what days is this like, and what can we say from past events that look similar? So if we take a look at past events that look similar, what kind of gets spat out is something very similar. It's a bit farther west, but still about a 15% risk stretching through the Oklahoma Panhandle into western Oklahoma, not quite to Oklahoma City this time around, still along the Red River there, kind of closer to Amarillo. But yeah, I mean, this is in pretty decent agreement with the Storm Prediction Center. It should be noted this is hail-driven, so the CIPS analog saying that large hail is most likely with this. And it's also noting that this is a largely conditional threat, so that's something to note as well, which again indicates that, you know, the conditions are going to be there for severe storms. It's just a question of whether severe storms will actually be there to take advantage. Let's talk about the machine learning solution here. This is not quite something that I agree with here. Far larger risk area in the Storm Prediction Center stretching all the way up into Iowa here. I think that's unrealistic. Maybe a marginal risk level 1 getting that far north. However, I don't expect that level 2 out of 5 stretching all the way from Oklahoma City up into places like Lincoln, Nebraska. That's just not feasible with that setup. It remains a 2 out of 5, so that's in good agreement. So we can say that this is generally kind of run-of-the-mill looking day for severe weather. However, again, I don't think it's going to materialize this way at all. I don't think that we're going to be seeing that risk stretching all the way up into Nebraska and Iowa. However, it should be noted that this placement is a bit farther east than the Storm Prediction Center, while CIPS is a bit farther west. I'd be tilting towards the CIPS solution right now if I had to pick one of the two. However, I think the SPC has the best of the solutions here. Finally, we can take a look at the global forecast system ensembles. And this gives us a good idea of what we're seeing as well. So this gives you high uncertainty, and this is how good your conditions are. Your greens are decent, your yellows are good, your oranges are pretty good, and your reds are like great. Those are like great conditions for tornadoes, strong winds, large hail, some kind of severe weather. Is known as the supercell composite parameter. So this kind of gives you the favorability of supercells forming within a region. But you'll notice there are lots of differences there. You'll see places like Oklahoma City being sometimes in a supercell composite approaching 10, which is quite high. That's in those reds. And sometimes you'll see it not even really within it. So high uncertainty here with what the conditions will look like on the day of as well. And again, that threat's going to be conditional. Will the conditions line up and will there be storms there? And whatever happens on Thursday impacts what happens on Friday. So if we have high uncertainty here, that means we have even higher uncertainty as we head into Friday. And here is that outlook again. I just want to point out here that widespread severe weather threat stretches all the way from Dallas-Fort Worth up to Chicago there in that level 2 out of 5, and stretches widthwise all the way from around Kansas City to Indianapolis, and points even a bit farther east than that, with that enhanced risk level 3 out of 5 stretching from around Little Rock, Arkansas, all the way up to around Springfield, Illinois, and the Illinois-Wisconsin border. So, I mean, that's quite a widespread and expansive severe weather risk, to say the very least. So let's take a look at those second opinions. Here is that analog solution. This kind of points at what I was kind of suggesting earlier. It looks like we're going to have a two-pronged threat, two areas of highest risk. However, I would not take this overly seriously in terms of where those risks are placed. It just indicates that there will be two different areas of risk. So this is in pretty decent agreement with the Storm Prediction Center, with again a severe weather risk stretching from around Dallas-Fort Worth, although it does extend a bit farther west, up towards Chicago, although again it's confined a little farther west. So this is kind of nudged to the west a little bit, but still gives us a good idea of what to expect on Friday. You'll notice there that 30% area, it's less widespread. That's kind of what I'm anticipating to actually happen as well. You know, I'm really not expecting that giant enhanced risk to remain all the way to day one, although it has happened before. So we'll just have to see. You'll notice there that, as I was talking about earlier, again, it splits into separate modes. So that means that places like Fayetteville, Arkansas, to point south there along the Oklahoma-Arkansas border, if this were to verify, you'd be in mode 1, and mode 2 would be farther north there near the St. Louis area, Quincy, Illinois, and places farther north as well. But, you know, I think the biggest takeaway here is that a widespread severe weather episode is certainly possible. So make sure, again, that you're making your severe weather plans. And I think it needs to be driven home. Things are going to change with this. So do not expect that what you see here, or even what the Storm Prediction Center says, is going to be what ends up happening the day of. Things are going to change. This is just a general overview, a low-resolution idea of what to expect. As we take a look at the machine learning model, it's gone kind of bonkers here. It's gone a little crazy here. It has a much larger risk area than the Storm Prediction Center, stretching all the way from Dallas-Fort Worth well into Ohio and almost into Pennsylvania is where that slight risk stretches. So huge risk area. Courtesy of this machine learning model. This has a 4 out of 5 moderate risk in widespread fashion stretching from Little Rock to Indianapolis, and that is big time problems if it does end up being true, with that hatch region being where it believes there's the possibility of significant severe weather, whether that be hurricane force winds, 2-inch hail, or EF2 plus tornadoes. So this is a worst case scenario. It's very aggressive. However, it's not completely impossible, but I wouldn't put much stock into this right now. If you're within that level 3 out of 5 or level 2 out of 5 area from the SPC, I'd stay weather aware, but this is just way too aggressive in my opinion, so I wouldn't take this too seriously at all. I like to give people second opinions, the raw data, and like to make them make decisions for themselves. However, I just want you to know that from my experiences, this does not look like something I'd be taking overly seriously. And finally, things are going to change with this model, with the model you saw before, and with Friday as a whole. This is an uncertain event. This is an uncertain day, so it's important that you're staying weather aware, as again, we're going to really have a much better idea of what's going on in a couple days' time. And finally, we can take a look at that ensemble solution here where we have various models or various versions of the same model, kind of telling you how much uncertainty there is. And you'll notice things are all over the place on Friday. So while it's the same general region, they're more confined corridors, and some of them have those yellows and oranges and reds, and some of them are barely even cracking into the yellows, just have some greens. So it really depends on what happens Thursday. That's going to determine Friday. But given that high uncertainty, a couple things we do know is that the threat's going to be more widespread. That we're again going to have that potential threat from multiple modes. You'll notice there on the northern side of things that this parameter gets maximized, those oranges on the north, and then you'll see the beginnings of that on the southern end of this map as well. So again, two different modes of severe weather are possible as well. And then finally, all hazards are on the table here. So that means that strong winds, large hail, tornadoes, and all of these could be strong. We don't really know which ones are going to be the big ones yet, but all these hazards are on the table. And as I've been saying, again, this is going to change too. So everything I'm saying today, this is to give you an idea of what to expect, but it is not an exact forecast by any means. We do not know what's going to happen exactly, not even close. This is just to give you an idea of which areas need a heads up this far out. All right, well, what can you do? The most important thing is to plan out what you're going to do in a severe thunderstorm. We're a few days out from this, and the forecast is calling for severe weather, so it's time to begin preparing. That means you need to make sure you have sufficient emergency supplies. You want to make sure you know where your safe places are. Again, that's the lowest level, sturdy building, interior room, bathroom or closet's not a bad idea, things like that. If you're in a mobile home or vehicle, you need to find a better place in the event that you are in a tornado-warned location. And you want to make sure that you have a communication plan or multiple ways to get weather alerts so that way you and the rest of your family remain safe during this. We'll talk about what happens the day before and the day of as we move closer to this event, but for now it's time to start planning. If you need more information on that, you can go to ready.gov and then click on their headings there, the Make a Plan button, and you'll be able to find how to make a plan and what their recommendations are there. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was enjoyable. If you liked it, hit that like button. If you didn't, you know where that button is. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell for notifications in the event that you want to be notified whenever we post a new video. And finally, be sure to join our Discord server. The link will be in the description so you can chat with myself and the rest of the team as this severe weather event comes up. Again, thank you for watching. We hope to see you soon.